Hey, what's going on, guys? So today I wanted to take a look at the Temtem type chart and sort of break down the different types and how they match up with one another. So if you're new to the channel or don't know what Temtem is, make sure to check out my previous Temtem videos breaking down the recently released trailers, and make sure to hit that subscribe button for more Temtem content. So first thing first, here's the type chart. Right away you'll notice that it's much smaller than the Pokemon type chart at 12 types instead of 18. We have a few different types here and also some absent ones. For example, there's no bug or ghost type in Temtem, but there is digital or a crystal type. What I want to do with this chart is break it down one type at a time and discuss possible reasons behind each matchup that go beyond simple game balance. I just want everyone to keep in mind, though, that I don't have access to the alpha. I wish I did, but I don't. So if anything I speculate upon here is either present or disproves my own speculation, please let me know in the comments below. But anyways, without further ado, let's start with neutral type. Neutral type isn't effective against anything, but it is ineffective and weak to the mental type. My theory behind this is that neutral represents basic or common or average, just something that is ordinary, whereas mental type represents a higher level of understanding or uncommon or extraordinary. This type matchup likely represents a situation where you have an average-minded individual against an intellect, where the intellect can easily manipulate the less intelligent person. An interesting concept, and to be honest, this is my best guess. I can't really think of much else that could be the reason, but if anyone has any ideas, let me know in the comments below. Next is fire type, which is effective against nature, which makes sense. Fire burns up plants. And crystal. Crystal is due to the idea that crystals can be heated up to alter their composition, and intense heat can also cause them to explode or implode. It's ineffective against fire, because fire plus fire makes more fire. Water puts out fire. And earth, because the earth isn't combustible, and you have to remember we're only referring to raw earth and nothing to do with nature, because nature's its own thing. It's resistant to fire, nature, crystal, and it's weak to water and earth, all for the same reasons that we listed previously. So nature type is effective against water because nature needs water, plants need water to grow, and earth because plants grow out of the earth. It's ineffective against fire because fire burns up nature. Look at forest fires. Nature itself because nature plus nature equals nature, and toxic because you use pesticides and poisons that kill plants very effectively. It's resistant to water, nature, and earth for reasons we just explained, and electricity because, and this is my guess, it has to do with wood not being very good conductor. It's weak to fire and toxic for reasons we listed previously. Next is water, and once again it puts out fire, corrodes the earth. And as for digital type, try putting your iPhone in the toilet. It's ineffective against water because water and water just make water. Grass because grass needs water to grow, or nature rather, and toxic because of the pollution. It's resistant to fire, water, and earth, and weak to nature, electric, and toxic, all for reasons we've listed previously. Next up's mental type. It's effective against neutral for reasons we stated previously, and melee. I'm guessing this is due to a mind over matter type situation, brain over brawn, similarly to that of Pokemon. It's ineffective against crystal type. My best guess for this is our minds will become extremely fixated on shiny objects like jewels and gems, diamonds, etc. Even though if you forget about the monopolies that are behind these crystals and whatnot, they're actually virtually worthless. It's resistant to melee and neutral for reasons stated previously, and it's weak to electricity, digital, and crystal. My guess for digital is the idea that computers, no matter how smart a person can become, computers generally tend to be smarter. And electricity could be due to electrical conditioning, the idea that you can break down someone's mind, you can cause their synapses to collapse by electrocuting them. Earth is effective against fire, electricity, and crystal. The first two for reasons we've stated previously, and the latter likely due to the fact that crystals, like rock type in Pokemon, are made up of the earth, and an earthquake or something of the sort can easily break them down. It's ineffective against water, grass, and wind. We've dabbled with the first two types, but wind is likely due to the fact that, well, the ground is on the ground, wind is in the air. And it's resistant to fire, electricity, crystal, and toxic. Toxic likely because you can't poison the dirt. I mean, technically you can, but it won't hurt the dirt, it'll hurt the things growing out of the dirt. Now, it's weak to water, grass, wind, and melee. We've explored the first three, but melee is interesting. So in Pokemon, melee is good against rock, but there's no rock type unless you consider crystal sort of like a rock type. but this is Earth type, which somewhat encapsulates the two. The reason for melee being super effective against it is likely due to the idea of someone training, a martial artist training, and being able to precision strike through cement blocks or bricks. Next up's our wind type. So wind is effective against ground for a reason we stated previously, and toxic, which is interesting. The best thing I can think of is because toxic type Temtem thrive on these chemicals that would likely kill less sturdy Temtem. This is straight from the wiki. My guess is that wind can blow away those chemicals and cause it so that they don't have that to breathe. Perhaps they breathe these chemicals. That's the best guess I can come up with, because I don't see why the wind would beat poison. It's ineffective against electricity for reasons we stated previously, and wind, which wind and wind, it's wind. It's resistant to, actually wind and wind is a little more interesting, because when two fronts come at each other, if they're different temperatures, they could cause a tornado. But anyway, it's resistant to earth and wind for, again, reasons we just stated, and electricity is what it's weak to. Electric type is effective against water, mental, and wind for reasons that we've listed previously, and digital due to the idea of overcharging a battery. It's ineffective against nature for the conductor reason. Electric, as two bolts of electricity can't really do much to each other. Earth, because it's grounded. And crystal, due to the fact that some crystals like diamond don't conduct electricity, which I do find this typing interesting, because scientists have also found crystals that they can be used as conductors. So I'm guessing it's because most crystals aren't good insulators, but that's just my guess. It's resistant to electric and wind, and weak to earth and crystal for reasons stated previously. Next up is crystal type, and it's effective against electric and mental. We've explored both of these a few moments ago. It's ineffective against fire and earth, which again we talked about. It's resistant to electric, mental, and toxic. The first two we just talked about, but toxic I'm assuming is due to the fact that you can't poison a crystal. It wouldn't do anything, it wouldn't spread, it would just fall right off it. And it's weak to fire, earth, and melee. Fire and earth we already spoke about, and melee is likely for the same reason that earth type is weak to it. It has to do with using your fist to break through otherwise very sturdy objects. Alright, so next is a digital type. It's effective against mental, which we previously explored. It's effective against melee, which is interesting. Perhaps it's the idea that digital types are robotic, so they're more powerful than the average human or average fighter. And it's also effective against digital, which is really interesting. So it's kind of like a situation in Pokemon where you have Dragon being super effective against Dragon. This could be due to the idea that digitized attacks go right into the Temtem, in the sense that like you're hacking something, or you can hack a computer with a computer. So maybe that's why it's very effective against it. It's ineffective against nothing, so it hits everything for at least neutral damage. It's resistant to toxic, which makes sense because you can't poison a computer. And it's weak to water and electricity and digital for reasons we've just explored. All right, so next is the melee type, which is similar to the fighting type of Pokemon. It's effective against earth and crystal for reasons we've explained. It's ineffective against mental and melee. So, unlike Pokemon, melee types are ineffective against each other, which I find kind of interesting, but I guess when two trained warriors fight each other, it's not as easy as if they fight someone who's not very trained. I don't know, that's my guess. It's resistant to melee, which we just explored, and it's weak to mental and digital for reasons we just talked about in the previous type. And last but not least is toxic type. So it's effective against water and nature. We spoke about both of these. It's ineffective against earth, which we've spoken about, digital, which we've spoken about, crystal, which we've spoken about, and toxic itself, because poison and poison makes more poison, so everybody's happy, right? It's resistant to water, grass, and toxic. We just spoke about all of those. And it's weak to wind for the kind of half reason that we spoke about, because I'm still not 100% sure why that's the case. So yeah, that's all 12 types explained. I didn't want to keep repeating the same reasons over and over again to bore everyone, so that's why towards the end you hear a lot of, we've already explained that. I'm really liking the types here though. I see crystal and digital as very welcome additions to this Pokemon-styled combat game, and I find the different type matchups to be really interesting as well. There were a couple of things I wanted to point out before we get going about the type chart. So first of all, take a look at the type chart here. There's no immunities. This greatly differs from Pokemon, as we've had immunity since Generation 1, with types like Ghost and Flying being completely immune to certain types. I believe this was likely done to keep the game balanced. However, I don't really have an issue with immunities whatsoever. I do believe they can be balanced into a meta. Further evidence of prioritizing balance, however, is the fact that there's no type combination that has 0 weaknesses. On the flip side, the amount of total resistances you can have with any given type combination is 5. Anyways, I thought that the type chart was interesting enough to warrant its own video, so let me know what you guys think in the comments about which type combinations you'd like to see and which matchup intrigues you the most. Make sure to subscribe for more Temtem content, and until next time, see ya.